Hi, welcome to PapyrusAI. In this video, I'm going to show you how to navigate the tool, including how a student would navigate through the interface of PapyrusAI, and also how teachers can leverage the instructor-specific capabilities in the platform. We'll begin by first creating an account for PapyrusAI. This step is the same for both students and teachers. To do this, you'll first navigate to papyrusai.org, and then you'll click on the Login Here button for your institution. If you are at UC Irvine, you'll click Login Here for UCI. If you're at another higher education institution, you can click Login Here for Higher Ed. If you're at one of our K-12 partner institutions, you can click Login Here for K-12, El Sol, Capistrano, or Fortifying Liberty's Legacy, depending on which project you're attached to. So you can go ahead and select the option for you. In this case, I'm going to click Login Here for UCI since that's where my account is located. When you click Login Here for UCI, if it is your first time going to PapyrusAI, you will be asked to first create an account. There are several ways that you can create an account. One way, depending on the institution you're at, you may have the option to sign in using your corporate ID or your SSO login. UC Irvine, Cal State Fullerton, and our partner institutions in the North Orange County Community College District should have access to this way of logging in. Otherwise, you can also sign in with your Google account, which will use the regular Google sign-in that you may be used to in other platforms. Or the third and final way is that you can sign up for an account manually by clicking this sign up button here at the bottom of the screen. If you choose to manually sign up, you'll be asked to include your email of choice. You'll use that to log in, and then a password associated with the account. So there are 3 different ways that you can use to sign in and create an account with PapyrusAI for the first time. If you are at one of our institutions that have Canvas integration or have this option to sign in using your institution's login portal, that's probably the easiest way. Otherwise, Google sign-in is highly recommended, and then manual sign-in is also okay. So I'm going to go ahead and actually sign in with my student account. So I'll use the manual sign in here. And once you sign in for the first time, you will be taken to your dashboard. Your dashboard will look different than what mine looks like right now. I'm already enrolled in several different courses, but your dashboard, if this is your first time logging into PapyrusAI, will likely be pretty empty. So you won't have these courses, you won't have any modules, you'll just be greeted with a blank slate. So the first step that you'll need to take is to join a course. This step is the same for both teachers and students. So for teachers who are watching this video, you'll be able to see how your students would access your course as well for the first time. If you're a student looking to sign in and join your teacher's course, this is the step that you'll take as well. So on your dashboard, once you've logged in, your teacher should have provided you a sign-up code. You can put in that sign-up code by clicking here with this blue button that says Join Course, and a screen will pop up. Here, you can put in that sign-up code that's associated with the course that you want to join. So again, if you're a student, your teacher will have provided you this sign-up code to join their course. If you're a teacher, this is where your students will put that code in. So I'm going to put in the sign-up code, try it out. And for context, if any of you are interested in seeing what a course looks like in PapyrusAI, whether that's a student or a teacher, and interested in looking at different prompts that are available, you can use the same sign-up code to join the higher education sandbox, which has a number of our different prompts specifically for higher education, but K-12 instructors and students can also browse that if you're interested. So you can put in that sign-up code, and then once you're ready, you can click Join Course. And after a few moments, you'll get that message at the top that said you've been added to the course. It just appeared on that screen, but that's the message that you'll get. And if you look at your courses, you should see that course appear in your dashboard under My Courses. In this case, the course I joined using the sign-up code Try It Out is Higher Education Sandbox, and you'll see that that's in my course list now. So that is how you join a course. Some other things I just want to point out here on the dashboard before we enter into the course and before I show you how to interact with the AI. On the left, you'll see a number of different options that you can go to. The main one's on the student level, and I'll talk about the instructor level things in a moment. But for the student level, other things that you can navigate to, so there's this dashboard where you'll be able to find the courses that you're enrolled in within PapyrusAI. You'll also see courses, so if you click on that, it should give you the full list of courses that you are enrolled in. And this probably won't look too different from your dashboard unless you're enrolled in a lot of courses like I am, but that is how you can access your full course list if you need to. Reports, I believe if you're a student, you don't need to worry about this one. I don't think anything will show up. For instructors, I will go into that feature in just a moment later in this video. But we'll go from courses, and then you can also go to account here, and this is where you can customize your name, and this is how it'll appear in the tool to your teachers and to yourself, of course, in your conversation with the AI. You can pick a theme preference. So we have a few different themes that you can pick according to your preference. You can choose the text size, and then also, depending on your language of preference, you can switch between English and Spanish. The Spanish translation of our platform we're really excited about. It is something that as of this video, it is a work in progress, and so please let us know if you encounter any bugs or errors in the translation as you're navigating through, if you do choose to use that feature. Once you've selected the options you'd like, you can go ahead and click Save Profile, and it'll save those preferences that you've indicated. A couple other buttons here. There's a Resources button. If you click this, it'll link out to a new tab, and that'll take you to our resources on PapyrusAI, including foundational curriculum, navigation guides, other things like that, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of this video as well. You can log out of your account as well, and there's also a Report Issue button if you run into any bugs or errors as you're navigating the interface. You can use that if you're a student or a teacher. Okay, so now that we've navigated the dashboard and we've created an account, we've joined a course, the next step is to start interacting with the AI. So to interact with the AI, you will need to enter the course in which you are to interact with PapyrusAI. These courses are essentially set up to structure the way you'll interact with the AI to fit your writing purpose. These are structured according to how your instructor chooses to structure that. So they may choose to, for example, make modules that are organized by activity. They may also make modules that are dedicated to certain types of writing tasks, such as brainstorming or revision. That's really up to your teacher and how they decided to set up their course to best support your learning. So we'll go through that step together. So you can click on the course you want to enter. In this case, I'm going to click on Higher Education Sandbox and click that blue button that says View Modules. And then once you're in the course, you'll see the modules that you have available to you. To each of these, there are descriptions that you can see that explain what the module is about, and that can help you understand which module you may be looking to use. Also rely on any guidance that your teacher may have for you. In this case, I will start with a planning module. Let's say I'm at the beginning of my writing process and I'm looking for help with my pre-writing. So I'm going to click Begin Module here under Planning. And then once that loads, you will be taken to a screen where you can select the prompt that you want to get started with. In PapyrusAI, there are pre-programmed prompts that are in the interface that you can use to help you get into the conversation with the AI faster. The idea is that these prompts, these are ones that have been tested by our researchers, developed specifically to help you with your writing, that are based on evidence-based practices. And so the idea is you can jump into that conversation, jump into that writing support in a more accessible manner by using these prompts to start your conversation. So in the screen, it says to select a prompt option, and when I click on the drop-down, I can select one of these options of different prompts that are available in this module. In this case, I mentioned that I was looking, maybe for help with pre-writing, maybe I'm looking for assistance with brainstorming for a certain topic. And so I'm going to click Topic Brainstorming, and then I'm going to click Ask Papyrus, and that'll start me in the conversation. So you can see here, this is our main conversation window. In this conversation window, you can still access this side left navigation bar in case you need to go to a different part of the course or a different part of the interface. You can also see here on the right, there is a conversation list. Right now, there's only one conversation that I have, but as you're starting new conversations in the module, like let's say, you still want help with this planning stage, this pre-writing stage, but now instead of brainstorming, now you want some assistance with researching the topic, which we have a prompt for. You could start a new conversation and then choose the appropriate prompt to use, and then that second conversation would appear here. So this conversation window is where you'll see the different conversations you can choose from. You can rename them if you click this option button here for the conversation. You can rename the conversation so it's easier to know what you talked about in that window. You can also download the conversation if you'd like to keep a text file transcript of the conversation you had with the AI. You can also archive the conversation, which will essentially hide the conversation from this list. It will not delete it. That's something just for you to know. Your teachers can still see any conversations that you've had with the AI, even if you choose to archive it. But this will help you hide potentially irrelevant conversations that you don't really care about and you don't need it access anymore. You can just hide that from your list. So in this conversation window, now the most important piece is the actual conversation that you're having with the AI. You'll notice that when I first clicked Ask Papyrus after I selected a prompt, this white box automatically appeared. And if you click expand, if you're curious or full screen, you can see essentially the prompt that we've started this conversation with. This is a prompt that our team has developed to help with topic brainstorming. Depending on what your teacher has made available to you in the course, this may change. The options that you had could change. But this is how you can see what prompt may have been made available to you if that option was available. And you can see what the AI was asked. Some teachers may have chosen not to show this window because it is a lot of text. We have a lot of prompts that are much longer than this as well. And so that's just something to note. If you don't see that white box, but the AI does start asking you questions, that's what's happening behind the scenes. And so that's that first message that was sent. You'll see that the AI responded according to the instructions, which were to ask for context about this assignment in which I'm trying to brainstorm a topic. So what subject or class is this writing assignment for? I'm going to go ahead and say engineering, and then you'll see this ... as the AI is generating its response, and it'll continue with that conversation. So from here, you can continue conversing with the AI if you'd like to. Just some features that I want to point out in this conversation window before we move into instructor level settings that they can do in their courses. First, there are 3 different ways right now that you can use to interact with the AI in a conversation. The first is you can enter any message you like. So just like when I typed in engineering, you can type in your own custom text, and then once you're ready to send that message, you can either hit enter on your keyboard or return, or you can click this paper airplane icon to send that message to the AI, just like I did there. The second way to interact with the AI is that you can upload or add a file into the conversation. So for example, if you are using a prompt that's related to getting feedback on your writing, you may wish to upload the rubric of the assignment so the AI can provide you more effective feedback that's based on the criteria by which you'll be evaluated. You may also wish to upload your draft for your writing so the AI can actually give you feedback on what you've written. And so you can click Add File, and a screen will pop up where you can either copy in the text from your original document if you prefer to do that, or you can click this button up here to upload a file of your choice into the conversation. These can be in text file format, docx like Microsoft Word, or PDFs. Once you have that uploaded, or once you have the text copied in here, you can click Submit Document, and then it'll upload that information into the conversation for the AI to then give you feedback, for example, on that input. The third way that you can use to interact with the AI in this conversation window is to click Speech to Text. So there's this microphone icon here next to the Send Message button, and if you click that, a pop-up will appear, essentially telling you how you'll use the tool. So this is a speech-to-text or a voice-to-text feature. What this does is that you may need to enable some browser settings to allow the browser to access your microphone, but it allows you to speak your input to the AI rather than typing it. This can be useful if you're practicing an oral presentation, for example, and you want some feedback on what you've said. This can also be helpful if you just prefer to speak your answers as you're reflecting or as you're thinking about your writing. This is another way by which you can interact with the tool. So to do that, you'll click Start Listening once you're ready to have the AI transcribe what you're saying. Once you click that, you may need to allow your browser to access your microphone, but once it's enabled, it'll start listening, and then anything you say from there will start being transcribed. Once you're done with your message that you want to send, you can click the button again, which will now say stop listening. And then it'll stop recording what you're saying. It'll finish transcribing your message, which will appear here in this box. And then once it's there, you can click send message. Note that the transcribed message may not be perfect because the technology is not always 100% accurate in picking out what you're saying. And so if you notice that there are any errors in the transcription, you can feel free to edit that in this message here after it's transcribed before sending it, or you can just send it as is and then correct it in the conversation itself if you'd like. So those are the three main ways that you can interact with the AI in the conversation window. I've already shown you how you can rename the conversation and download the conversation. There's also a download button up here if you'd like to. And then this button up here, this plus button, is how you start a new conversation if you would like to. So let's say, as I mentioned, I'm done with brainstorming my topic and I want to move on to getting assistance with researching the topic. So I'm going to start a new conversation. I'm going to find topic researching, that sounds like what I'm looking for. Click Ask Papyrus, and it'll load my second conversation, which you can see just appeared in my conversation window. So those are the main ways that you can interact with the AI. There are also just two final features here before we move on to talking about more instructor level features in the platform. But just to mention them really quick, there's this read aloud button, looks like a little volume up or down button next to the message. And if you click that, the AI will, or the platform will start reading aloud, verbally or audibly. It'll start reading aloud the message that is in that box. You can also click copy message, and that'll copy the text from the message that you selected for you to use in your clipboard so you can paste it onto another document or something like that. The last thing that I'd like to mention before we move away from this part of PapyrusAI is just again remembering that these conversations that you have within your teacher's courses, your teachers can see these conversations. And so please be aware of that when you're using the tool. We want to make sure that your teachers are able to see how you're doing with the AI so that they can better assist you with your writing, and also to help you navigate any potential issues that may occur, either from AI output being inaccurate or if you're not sure how to proceed. So really just meant to help facilitate that communication and facilitate that that use of the AI for your class. In this part of the video, we are going to now look at the instructor level features that are in PapyrusAI. So if you're a student, this part won't be as relevant for you, but if you're an instructor, this is probably the part that you are looking forward to most when you are using the tool. So in PapyrusAI, as we mentioned in the first part of the video, the way that students interact with AI is through courses and modules that you, the teacher, can create and customize according to the writing needs of your students. So let's walk through first creating a course and then creating modules within that course that structure those AI interactions. To do this, we're going to go back to the dashboard, and I'm not here now, and I'm going to click on this Create Course button at the top. Once you click there, you'll be taken to a screen with some information that you need to fill out about the course that you are looking to teach. So the first steps are to fill out the basic information. This includes the course name as well as the course sign-up code. And note that both of these are visible to your students, so I would recommend naming these something, for the course name at least, naming it something that your students will recognize as, oh yeah, I've signed up for the right course. So you can choose the correct name for your actual course itself. You can see here the example is the actual course title as it appears in our university course catalog. So you can choose to do that. You can name it something else with your name in there if you want to make sure students know that, yeah, that's my professor, I'm in the right place. Whatever you want to name it, as long as it is transparent for your students that they are enrolled in the right course when they try to sign up. You'll also want the sign-up code. Note that these have to be unique across different courses. So if you have, let's say, multiple courses in PapyrusAI for different sections of your course, they will need to have unique sign-up codes. So you can fill in whatever sign-up code you want. And if you remember from the first part of the video, this code is what students will use to join your course. So you'll want to make that available to your students. So you can fill out the name that you like. I'm going to just do a test one for the purposes of this video, and we'll say we'll say this for the sign-up code. We'll see if I remember it, but that's fine. So that's the sign-up code. And then the next steps, these are all actually optional, and you can always come back to edit these details if you want to. The name and the sign-up code are the most essential and only essential pieces. But in case you're curious, schedule information, this will just give some additional details for you and for your students to organize when this course took place, so you can identify different sections from different quarters or semesters, for example. Just additional information to help you with your organization. So you can select the year, the term in which you're teaching, and you can even put a section number if that's helpful for you to know. You can also add teaching assistants. Note that teaching assistants to be added, they have to already have a PapyrusAI account. So if you have a teaching assistant, or if there's someone else that you'd like to give teaching assistant level permissions within your course, they have to already have created their account. So just take note of that if you're looking to add someone. But you can add anybody who has a PapyrusAI account as a teaching assistant. And as the note says, they are able to create and edit modules for you, but they cannot delete or unpublish the course. So you as the instructor, the one who created this account, or sorry, created this course, you still retain that important level of control. And the teaching assistants within this PapyrusAI course can help you with organizing or creating new modules. So if you'd like to add someone here, you can type in, you can select from a very, very long list of people, or you can type in their email or their name and identify the right account to add. And then you select that. You can add multiple teaching assistants. And once you're ready with all this information in your course, you can go ahead and click Save and Publish. Note that there are a couple of other options here. You can discard your changes if you want to start fresh on a different course and just start over. You can also do Save without publishing, but just remember, if you choose this option, when you want to make your course available to your students, you want to make sure just to come back in and edit the course and make sure to publish it. Otherwise, your students will not be able to see the content in your course. So I'm ready to publish this course, so I'm going to click Save and Publish here. And I'll show you how to edit the course as well in case you do need to go back and make any changes or to publish the account. Let me try a different sign-up code since I think I've used this for another test run. There we go. All right. The 7th of the Waverly test courses. So it's creating the courses. I have a lot of courses in this account, which is why it's taking a little longer to load my course list. It should be much faster on your end. But what you'll see is, I believe it's this one that I just created. This course that I just created has appeared in my course list. So just to show you how to edit it, if you'd like to, you can click on this options button up here in the top right corner of the box for the course you want to edit, and it says course options when you hover. You can click Edit Course, where if you edit that, it takes you back to a very similar screen. All the same information. You can add your teaching assistants, you can change the schedule information. This is how you can edit it, and make sure to save and publish again, or you can delete your course here if you want to. But this is where you'll go back to publish that if you didn't publish it in the first place. You'll notice that also in the course options that I could choose from, there was also an option to duplicate the course. This can be helpful if you are looking to have essentially the same PapyrusAI course. Maybe you'll make some changes, but you want to keep the backbone of what you've already done. If you want to duplicate it, that can be useful to bring it into a new semester to allow new students to join in their new section. So if I click Duplicate, a screen will pop up, and you'll be given the option to give a new course name or a new course sign-up code. You will need to name it. This name could be the same as what you had before. For example, if you're teaching the same course again in the next semester, maybe you just want to do the same name, and that's fine. But you will need a new sign-up code. Remember that these are unique sign-up codes, so you cannot use the same sign-up code between one semester and the next. So you'll put in that information here. You'll click Publish Course if you're ready to publish that, and you'll click Duplicate, and then it'll appear in your course list as a duplicated course. And then you can go and edit those course details later to adjust it to the new semester's information, like going from spring to fall, for example. You can go in and edit that duplicated course accordingly. So for now, let's just stick with the one that I've created already. So it's here in my course list. We've created the course, we've published it. I'm happy with the course information for now. So the next step is to go and create a module. So I clicked on View Modules there to get into the course. And once I'm here, because it's a new course, there are no modules yet. And so the first step I need to take is to create a module. If you're familiar with the Canvas learning management system, we've designed PapyrusAI to roughly emulate some of the ways that you navigate through Canvas. In this case, you can think about modules in PapyrusAI as somewhat similar to modules in Canvas, where they can be organized to frame the information that's related to that module, right? So for example, you can have certain assignments, certain readings that are associated with that weekly module or that topic, all grouped under one big category. That's kind of what's going on here. You can create separate modules however you like. It can be organized by activity, by assignment, by stage in the writing process, any other thing you can think of, but you can choose how to organize that according to what makes sense to you. And in those modules, the content will be the prompts that you're choosing to make available in those organized spaces. So we have our blank screen. Let's create a module. So I'll click on this blue plus create module button up here. And you'll see a pretty similar screen to the one for creating a course. You'll have a module name, again, something that's visible to your students, so make sure it's something that roughly describes what the module is about. So let's say I want to make a pre-writing module, just like the one I used in the first part of the video. And let's say I'm intending this module to be used for a particular assignment in which students will be asked to engage in pre-writing steps. So I could say this module is intended to help you with activity 1A for pre-writing. You can do whatever description you want. This will be visible to your students when they enter into PapyrusAI, so ideally making it something that's descriptive enough to help your students understand what they should be doing with this module or how the module can help them in their writing at the time. So we have a name, we have a description, and now we need to add the most important pieces, which are the module assets, which include prompts and documents. So I will show you how you can create your own assets later, but one of the big things that we like about why we designed PapyrusAI is that we do have those pre-programmed prompts that are based on evidence-based practices for writing pedagogy, as I've mentioned. These are available to all instructors in PapyrusAI, and they're welcome to choose to use any of them in their course in PapyrusAI or not. They can choose from those as they're setting out to create their modules. So for this one, we have several prompts related to planning and pre-writing. So I want to add some of those that are already available in PapyrusAI. To do that, I'm going to either click on this No Assets Added or the Add Asset button, and a screen will pop up that will show me the library of prompts that are available in PapyrusAI. You'll see that there are a number of different folders that are available, and I'll show you our resource at the end of this video and where you can navigate these prompts in a different spreadsheet. But for now, I know that I want a module that's related to pre-writing and planning, so I'm going to go to that folder. I'm going to click Select to enter into that folder. And then once it loads, I'll see the list of prompts that I can use that are automatically sorted in these categories by the research team, by the tool development team. So you'll see that there's that topic researching and topic brainstorming prompt I tried in that first part of the video. I like the topic brainstorming prompt, so I'm going to click into this to see the full text, so I know, what is the AI going to be prompted to do with my students. I like that one. I'm going to click Add Prompt so I can add the prompt to the module. So once you select a prompt, it'll reload that module creation page, and you'll see once it reloaded, it's now added to my module. If I want to go and add another prompt, I'll go through the same step again. So I'll click Add Asset, I'll navigate to the folder that I'm interested in. Oh, here it is, in planning. And I'm going to add that topic researching prompt that I liked. Again, I can click this if I want to see, and I'll add it. It'll reload, and then you'll see now that both of these prompts are available in my module. You can go ahead and add more assets if you want. You can also add documents, and I'll see if I have one in one of my private folders to show you what it's like, but it's the same process by which you're adding the prompt. You'll navigate to a folder with the document, and we'll talk about how you can go to the library in just a moment to add your own documents. I have this document file. You'll see it says File here, and I can add that file to the module just like I did for the prompts. So that's how you can add these assets. Basically, if you select prompts for your students to use, you'll see, remember in that first part of the video, we had that drop down. These two prompts are the only ones that they will be able to choose between if they use that module. The file isn't something they can see, and it's not something that your students can choose to begin the conversation with. Rather, it is a document that will inform some of the AI output. So for example, if you have a module that's focused on revision or providing feedback, you could potentially bring in the rubric for that assignment and bring that into the AI so that if a student just uploads their essay, the AI's output and feedback will already be tailored to the assignment criteria in that rubric that you've added into the module. So the documents are not things that your students will start with, rather they're documents to inform the output of the AI within the context of this module. So we've added some assets, just a couple more things before we are done with our module. There are some settings here. This first setting is to show or not show the embedded prompt. There's a description here, but basically if you have this checked, which it is by default, that prompt, when a student enters into your module and selects a prompt to use, they will be able to see the text of that prompt in the conversation. So in the first part of the video, we saw that white box with text that appeared immediately when I clicked in the drop down and went into the conversation. That appeared automatically. So if you have this box checked, that box with the text will appear. If you have it unchecked, then students will not see the prompt with which the conversation was started. So this is up to you and what you believe might be most helpful for your students. Having those prompts there can be helpful for students to see what goes into prompting the AI. They can better understand what the AI is being asked to do. Alternatively, it can be very overwhelming because there's a lot of text, and so you can decide whether you want to make that available or not for your students to see. This second box here, which is unchecked by default, you can choose to allow PapyrusAI to search the internet in response to a query or question from students. In other words, it allows a web search, or you cannot allow that. For the students to prompt the AI to use this feature, they'll need to say things like look up something, like essentially just directing it to search the web for a certain piece of information. And this is really just up to your use case. If you think it would be useful for a particular module for students to be able to search the web or not, you can choose to check or uncheck that as you wish. So always depending on just what you're looking to do with that module. These are settings that you can change module to module, and so it's just up to what you decide. So once you have a name for the module, once you have some assets, and most notably at least some prompts, and then any relevant documents that you may like to include, and you've decided which settings you want to use, you can now save and publish. Same thing with the course. You can also discard your changes if you want to start over. You can save without publishing, and then you can also do save and publish. If you save without publishing, you just want to make sure at some point to go back in and publish the module, just like with the course. Otherwise, your students won't be able to see it. So I'm going to click Save and Publish, and it will finish creating the module. And you'll see that it has now appeared in my module list. So that is how you create a module. Next thing that I want to show you is just some additional options for that module. So you have this module. Let's say you like the basis of what you have, but you just want to change the assignment description, or you want to add just like a couple prompts or whatever. You can copy this module either into, I believe it's going to actually be in a different course. So you can choose specific modules to copy into specific courses between your different courses that you've created. That's an option you can choose. There might be a technical issue right now with copying the module, but this screen will appear and you'll have options of courses that you can essentially bring this module into. Oh, here it is. It was just loading. So I'm in a lot of courses. That's why it took so long. But you'll see I clicked copy module, and then now I can choose another course to copy it into if I so wish to do so. You can also edit the module just like we did for the course. It'll again take you back to the same screen, and then now you can publish it or you can delete the module. So now I'd like to show you the library. We were just looking at the folders with different prompts when we were looking to add assets. So now I want to show you where you can look at all of these prompts outside of creating a module, and also where you can create your own prompts or upload your own files. So I clicked on library here on the left side bar, and you'll see that there are a number of different modules, or excuse me, a number of different folders that you can choose from. These are roughly organized according to what they're supposed to help with. So we have things for revising, for drafting, planning, presenting, etc. There are also private folders that you can create that are for your own personal prompts or documents that you want to upload. So if you want to look at the prompts we have available to all instructors, you can navigate to that folder, click View, and then it'll take you to a similar screen as when you were adding the assets to your module. So you can see I can browse through if I'd like to. I'm going to go back to the library. But let's say I want to create a prompt of my own, or I want to add a document that I can then use in my modules. To do that, you'll first need to create your private folder because you'll need to store your custom prompts, your custom documents somewhere. And so you'll create a folder. This is private just to you, so only you can see this. These other folders, these ones are public to all users of PapyrusAI, but don't worry, the ones that you create will be private. So I clicked on New Folder up here. I'm going to name it something for the purposes of this video. I'm going to click Create Folder. It'll load. You'll see that green message saying that the folder was created successfully. And you'll see here it's at the bottom. Here's the name that I named it. It's private. There are currently 0 items since we just created it. So for the folder options, just to show you, this options button, you can view it, you can star it, which will essentially just sort of favorite it and move it up in the list so it's easier to find potentially. You can rename it, you can duplicate it. You may or may not be able to make it public, but you'll probably just keep it private. So you have your folder, it's empty. Let's go in and view it. And then let's create our own prompt. So we're in the folder, and if you want to create a custom prompt or upload a document, you'll click Add Content, Add Prompt, and then you can enter the name of your prompt. So let's say I want to make a prompt for pre-writing. That's my own, and that's where I'll put the name. This is something that's only visible, it'll be visible to you and your students. So if your students are working on this assignment, for example, and you just want to make it really explicit, I can name it Pre-writing for Assignment 1A. Here where it says prompt, these are the instructions that will be fed into the AI at the start of the conversation once your students click this prompt and choose to enter the conversation with it. So these will be the first message that the AI will receive that will structure the interaction going forward in that conversation. So for the purposes of demonstration, this is just, I'll just do a very generic one saying, greet me kindly and ask about my day. Probably not something that's relevant to pre-writing for this assignment, but you know, for the purposes of demonstration, this is what the AI will be told once I click this prompt in my dropdown. The AI will be told to greet me kindly and ask me about my day, and it'll start the conversation immediately. So you need a name, you need a prompt. Once you're happy with that, you can click Save and Publish. And then that will appear in your personal folder. You'll see prompt created, and here it is. You'll do the same steps for adding a file. So you'll click Add Content, Add File, and then you'll enter a file name and then upload the file of interest that you have. So I won't add one here just to save some time, but you'll go through the same steps of naming it, uploading the file, you'll click Save and Upload, and then once you've done that, it'll also appear in this folder in which you've created it for your use when creating a module. So if you wanted to go back to a module you've created and add these new prompts in or create a new module with these, you can go through that list of folders and navigate to your personal folder, find the prompt you just created and add that in. So that's how you can add your own prompt or upload a document. But let's say you actually like one of the prompts that we're using in PapyrusAI and you just want to tweak it a little bit to fit the specific needs of your students. You can make a copy of any of our existing prompts and then edit it in your own personal folder. So let's go back to that topic brainstorming prompt. So I'm going to navigate to the planning folder. I'm going to find the topic brainstorming prompt right here. And what I'm going to do, because I like the prompt and I just want to tweak it for my own personal use, is I'm going to click on Prompt Options, and I'm going to click Copy To, It'll load the folders that you have access to in the prompt library. So I'm going to navigate down to my personal folder that I just created. I'm going to click select because this is where I want to copy this prompt to. And it'll take a second to load, but you'll see if you scroll to the top, it says prompt copied successfully. I'm going to go back to my library just to make sure. So I'll go to the library, navigate down to my own personal folder. Yeah, and you'll see topic brainstorming prompt. This is the one that was in the public folder. And so now I can go and edit the prompt if I'd like to, and then change the prompt instructions as I see fit for my students. So that is the library. That is how you create and upload files and documents. Some final things that I want to show, just checking my notes to see what else I may need to discuss. Oh, okay. The final thing that I want to talk about in this video are the reports. This is a cool feature that is, as with everything in PapyrusAI, ongoing development. In the reports tab, I clicked reports here on the left side, you'll be able to see the reports of the courses in which you are a teacher. Your reports will load much faster than mine. I am, because I'm on the research team, I have access to every course in PapyrusAI, so it's a little slow on my end, but don't worry, that won't happen for you. It'll be much faster. So when you click on reports, you'll be able to see the courses of which you're an instructor. In this case, I'm interested in seeing one of my various Waverly test courses to look into seeing how students are using PapyrusAI within my courses. So I'm going to navigate to that one. Let's do this one. So you can see when you kind of hover over it, you'll see who's the instructor, what's the name of the course, the sign-up code. So if you ever forget what that sign-up code is, you can grab that and share it with your students. And you can also see the number of students who are enrolled in that course. So I'm going to click it to view the course details. And it'll take a moment to analyze the course data and generate that report. But once it's loaded, you'll see a number of different graphs and ways to filter the analytics that you have to be able to see how your students are using PapyrusAI. So we'll give that a moment. All right, here we are. So here's the course. You'll see the graphs that I mentioned, so daily conversation lengths, daily conversation counts, and module usage sorted by module. So you're welcome to browse this if you're interested. It provides some pretty interesting analytics on usage of your course. But sometimes you want to know, first of all, how many students use it within a certain time frame. For example, if you're curious to see how many people use it for a certain assignment and you know the deadline of when it was due, when it was introduced in your course, you can select the start date and end date that you're interested in looking at in particular. So you can select those. You can also filter by student. So if you go up here and click select student, you can select the students with whose interactions you're interested in looking at. So I've selected one of my accounts, and you'll see now it's only showing data for one selected student. It tells you the student that I'm looking at, their email, how many messages they have, and now these graphs are specifically tailored to this one student's usage. You can select more students if you're interested in that. I'll select another one of my accounts, and you'll see that you can sort of side-by-side compare the different usage of the course. You can also, I'm going to go back to just look at one student, you can view their detailed reports. So let's say you are interested in seeing exactly what your students are talking about in the conversations with the AI. You can click View Detailed Reports, and it'll load the conversations that that user, that student, has had in any of your courses. Now the information that'll appear on the screen will probably be more than what you'll see normally, but let's see if I can access it this way. There's also this View All Students button here. You can see a list of the students in the class, their number of conversations, and you can view the reports as well. All right. And now I want to see, we'll try this one. I want to look at their specific conversations. So I'll click List Conversations next to the course I'm interested in looking at. And now I can see the conversations that this user, myself, has had within this course. So I want to look at this one. We actually just did this one in the first part of the video. So I want to click View. And once I do that, I can see the exact conversation transcript that the student has had with AI. And as I mentioned in the first part of the video, these conversations are always accessible to teachers of the course. Students have the option of archiving their conversations to hide it in their list, but even if they do that, it will not be deleted from your view. So teachers will always be able to see what exactly their students are saying with the AI in order to better help them with their future interactions or to monitor, what kind of things can I best support them with regard to the writing. So that's how you look at the reports. There are those analytics at a course level. You can filter those according to certain students, according to certain dates, and then you can also go in to see the very specific conversations that specific students are having. You can also look at module reports. So I'll go back to my course list and I'll show you. You'll go into the course that you're interested in looking at the reports for. And then you can choose to select the reports for certain modules. So I'm going to go back, I'll go to the Higher Education Sandbox and click View Modules. And you'll see that there's a little eye icon next to each module that says View Reports when you hover over that. So I'm going to click on that planning one. And it'll load all of the reports of students or users who have used that module. And you'll see sometimes, again, there is that network error. And that's just something that we're working on fixing. Definitely report to us if you have any errors like this so we can try to troubleshoot them. But you'll see there's a lot of people who've been using the sandbox, so it is taking some time to load. But what it will do is it'll tell you the total number of conversations that have been initiated in this module, this planning module within the Higher Education Sandbox. It'll tell you the average number of messages per conversation. So in this case, there's 6.1. And then it'll also tell you how many students have conversations. So some of these students that are enrolled here, you'll see that there's an X if they don't have conversations, and they also have, it says 0 conversations. This can be a quick way of seeing which of my students that are enrolled in my PapyrusAI course have actually interacted with certain modules. If they haven't interacted with this module, it'll say X here, and it'll also say 0 conversations. The ones that have a green check mark means they have interacted with the module and they had a certain number of conversations. And for those ones, you can go and click to view their conversations if you're interested in that, just like we did with the course level or individual level reports. Now it's organized according to the module in which they've had conversations. The last thing I'd like to mention in this video is where you can find additional resources. So I've navigated to genaied.org. This is our main website where we host information about our research, about PapyrusAI, and other cool things that we're doing. But what I'm going to show you is the resources that we have on our website. So at genaied.org, I'm going to go to Resources. I'm going to click on the page for the resources that are relevant to me. So in this case, for example, I'm just going to go to the Higher Education Resources. And you'll see here at the top that there are guides that we have. There are student guides or instructor guides that are in a Google Doc format that has screenshots and steps for how to go through the things we talked about in this video. There are some professional development materials such as our PD sessions that we hold on a roughly quarterly basis, and these are recordings as well as slides. There are also prompts, activities, and question banks that we have. So if I click on prompts, this will take me to that spreadsheet that I mentioned earlier, where you can browse through all the prompts that we have available by default in PapyrusAI. You can see what they're intended for. You can see the whole text. You'll see that they're pretty long. And this can be an easier way of deciding in advance what prompts that you're interested in using to support your students' learning and how you can structure it into certain modules. So you can use that prompt spreadsheet, which I got there by clicking prompts. There are also activities, and these are some starter activities that we have created to help introduce students to using PapyrusAI. You're welcome to use any of these or adapt them to your courses. We created these with the intention of finding activities that are commonly used across writing classes, such as feedback or peer review. And if you click on these, you can see examples of activities of what students can do using PapyrusAI to practice with certain writing tasks. There are also some question banks here. So there's a Think First question bank as well as a Reflection question bank. And these are questions that you're again welcome to use or adapt as necessary in your course. These are really intended to help students with thinking first before they use the AI, considering things about their writing before they turn to the AI to make sure they're approaching the interaction with their own ideas in mind. There are also reflection questions to help them think about their AI use and their writing after they've used AI. So those are ones that you're welcome to use. There are introductory curriculum here that are meant to be primers, student-facing and instructor-facing, to help with understanding how these tools work, what prompt generation is like, some good things to keep in mind, as well as one on environmental impact. We also have 4 different videos here. This first one is a student-facing one on what human-driven generative AI use looks like. AI-infused pedagogy split into 2 parts, and then 1 longer video with some examples of how instructors that we worked with have been using PapyrusAI in their writing courses. These first 3 videos are pretty short. This last one's a little bit longer, but feel free to peruse, feel free to share in your courses if you'd like, if any of them are helpful. And then finally, if you have questions about these resources or if you encounter any issues or bugs, you can click here to contact the PapyrusAI support team, and you'll see that link to the bug form, which is the same one as in PapyrusAI, different contact information, as well as our weekly office hours, which may be different depending on when you're viewing this video. Some of this information may not be up to date in this video, so make sure you go to that support page if you're interested in getting that additional support for the right information, the right contacts to contact. So that is it for PapyrusAI. I hope that this was a helpful video. I know it's a little long, but hopefully you're able to use the timestamps to navigate through it. As I mentioned, please don't hesitate to contact us or reach out if you would like any support with using PapyrusAI or if you run into any technical errors. We are happy to assist however we can. And yeah, we hope that you enjoy your time exploring the tool and thinking about how you can leverage it in your class to support your students' writing and learning.